Welcome to the Silver and Black Show presented by Cox. I'm JT with former All-Pro tackle Lincoln Kennedy. And Lincoln, we have to begin with the loss Sunday night to Kansas City at home. It was a 17-14 game in the third quarter, and then it just unraveled. Kansas City played great in the second half. How did you see it when you looked at the tape?
Well, Kansas City really wanted to keep the ball away from the Raiders' efficient offense. And look, when you have an offense like Kansas City's, as productive as they can be, you cannot waste opportunities. Too many wasted possessions. The penalties were killers. 9 penalties for 68 yards. And it wasn't so much the number of the penalties, JT, as it was the timing. Whether it kept drives alive on defense, or the Raiders' defense out there, or stalled drives for the offense. These are all things that the Raiders have to find a way to get over, or you can't beat good teams like that.
Well, Lincoln, you played in a lot of big primetime games. What happens when you lose a game? You have to win. You feel it. The crowd's into it. How do you turn it around and get ready and practice that following week?
Well, every game should have teachable moments coming in. Your post-game work, and you see what you did, you evaluate the film, and know how to get better. The Raiders are still not in a bad position, but they can't afford to lose ground by having these games drop over and over again. So they've got to find a way to pick it up this week against Cincinnati, put what happened in the past behind them. They'll have another crack at the Chiefs, but until then, they've got to play more efficient and better football.
Well, what I want to talk about is what all Raider fans want to talk about: tempo. We got to talk about getting this team going again. How do they get started early? Is it no huddle? Is it coming out with a different playbook? How do you get Carr going early in this game so the Raiders can jump out to a lead?
Well, that's something that's been plaguing them for all year, but it's got to come down to efficiency and effort. The only problem I have with going no huddle and quick snaps, we've got guys that are jumping off sides on both sides of the ball, and more importantly on the offensive side, and it happened this past game against Kansas City. That cannot happen, especially when you're out in your own stadium, but the penalties have got to just kill you, or killing them. It's hard to go high tempo when you have careless mistakes like that.
That is a great point, Lincoln, and you know that because the mistakes have been piling up at big points in the game, especially jumping off sides and pre-snap. But I just think that Derek, if he's going faster early, if he comes out and he's in a rhythm and he goes no huddle and the other team can't set their defense early, I think that could get Derek going. You look at Derek, you know how he likes to get in a rhythm.
Right.
That hasn't happened most of the year, especially at home.
Derek's greatest strength to me is his accuracy and his efficiency with that accuracy. There are times in games where he threw people open, like in the Philadelphia game, even the Baltimore Raven game. That's something that sets him apart. And getting him into a flow, getting him into a mood means he has to trust everybody around him. You got to make sure those guys don't jump off sides when it's on a quick count. You got to make sure the receivers are getting open. It's a total team effort when you want to go high tempo. They've done it before, and they've had some success at it before. I just don't know if right now they're in a position where they can truly trust it because, again, you can't have drive killers that are penalties. You know, that those negate a lot of them. Look, last couple times Marcus Mariota's going out there on a 4th down and 1, we had somebody jump off sides.
You talk about trust a lot. You trusted your teammates.
Absolutely.
This team needs better trust in bigger games, and they got to turn it around quick against Cincinnati.
No doubt about it. It's got to be accountable.
Coming up next, Lincoln and I will take a closer look at the Raiders' current passing game and what makes Hunter Renfrow one of the best route runners in the NFL. Don't go anywhere.
The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and by Allegiant, the official airline of the Las Vegas Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights. Book now only at Allegiant.com.
He is definitely the most creative teammate I've ever been around. You know, not only just a receiver. You know, you see him. We try things in one-on-ones at practice that. You know, so when y'all leave, like we have one-on-ones and things like that. You know, y'all don't get to see, but some of these routes he run, you know, there'd be some like y'all. People be like, what is that? You know, but we're always pushing that envelope of what we can get away with. You know, because obviously there's a timing aspect with a protection and things like that. So, and is he the first read? Is he the second read? And how do we mirror that? How do we get that space open for him?
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show. High praise from Derek Carr with Hunter Renfrow. Lincoln, let's jump in with him. He's having a career year.
Right.
I thought he'd be the 3rd or 4th option early in his career. It turns out he's number 2.
Well, and he's so crafty way he runs routes and gets open, JT. You got to be pleased with him. He's seen Derek go to him time and time again. The one thing I would say this is Derek likes to spread the ball around. He did it for 9 different receivers in the KC game. But Hunter slips down right there and still able to break out on one of their better corners in KC and get that touchdown. He has been a true go-to guy for Derek all season.
I think it's very important to talk about how he runs routes, but what he does on 3rd down. The fans call him third and Renfrow.
Right.
But I like what he can do on first down. We can see what he does on special teams. But Lincoln, this is his moment now. If you look at him statistically, and remember, the Patriots were doing this for years with Edelman, Amendola, and now the organization is caught up with that, and they got the guy who can make those type of plays, especially in the red zone.
Well, the way the NFL is structured right now, especially for offenses, tight ends and slot receivers can have huge days because there's just a ton of real estate there, and they're very feisty with throwing those flags, either illegal contact or pass interference. A guy like Hunter Renfrow, and you see a guy like there, Cooper Kupp, other guys who will know how to get open on the inside and make themselves options for their quarterbacks.
All right, so we move from Hunter Renfrow, and those stats are amazing. Again, he's having a career year. But the big topic around Raider Nation is Darren Waller. He has got to get going. Flat out, he's one of the best athletes in this league. And what's changed from that first game where he had 19 targets, he was the go-to guy. Every team seems to be doubling him, and he is really struggling either to get open or for Derek to throw him open.
Well, that's the thing. It's a combination of both. One, Darren's got to do a better job of getting open, and Derek's got to find ways of throwing him open. That's where his accuracy comes into account. You know, that week one with 19 targets, I thought that was a little bit over the top. They were trying so hard to get him the football. Since then, it hasn't been the same. But look, defenses are going to take him out, whether they're double covering him, high, low, they're bracketing, they're trying to displace him coming off the line of scrimmage. It's up to Greg Olsen and the Raiders to find creative ways to get him free releases, to get him off into the secondary. It's not going to be easy. People are going to be keying on number 83.
Here's Darren Waller from earlier in the week.
I mean, it is a little different, you know, because over the past couple of years, you know, I am used to a lot more volume, but you know, I guess there's a lot more things in play this year. There's a lot more guys that can do stuff with the rock. There's a lot of different ways and situations where there's a lot of bodies around me, and there aren't as many opportunities where it frees up where, you know, I am getting a good look, I guess. So, and sometimes when those happens, you know, Derek may get pressured, things may happen. So I don't think me getting more targets is the answer to everything, and nor do I think that does something special for our offense. I do feel like when I get my hands on the ball, it's a great thing, and I do want to be able to make plays for this team. But you know, there's so many things that I can't control when I approach the game, and if I try to focus on those things, you know, I can get frustrated like anybody else can. But you know, I just try to focus on, you know, running every route like I am going to get the ball, and never letting that mindset change, and that keeps me encouraged throughout the game.
That is incredible. That soundbite shows you the man that he is. Right. A lot of athletes in this day and age would say, I want the ball, figure it out. He's exactly the opposite. Captain, team leader.
Well, this is a team game, okay? So the offensive line have got to do their part to protect. Derek's got to find the receivers and throw. The receivers have got to clear, create space, and get open. This is a team game. And what Darren said to me sometimes when he's talking about the pressure that Derek's getting, he might not be able to stick with him that long. You have to come off and go to someone else. Now, we've seen a lot of that. The offensive line has had their issues, but they're trying to get progressively better. Everyone needs to learn to trust one another. And when it comes to this offensive line needs to trust one another up front. Derek Carr needs to trust his offensive line and trust his receivers. He can still pass the ball around to a number of receivers. He'll eventually get it to 83, but a lot of defenses are keen to take him out.
Well, the Raiders quickly went out and got Deshaun Jackson. That was a necessity. Yes. What did you see? You know, the fumble was a big play, uncharacteristic, but he got open and made a big catch downfield. It's really important for him to run those routes to open it up for Darren Waller.
I think you've seen that. You saw that he went to Brian Edwards. Derek Carr went to Brian Edwards, did one time of going to Deshaun Jackson and came up with a huge catch. There has to be more to that. But that trust takes time to build. You can't bring a guy into the office, into the facility on Wednesday and hope he's going to have a big impact on Sunday. It just doesn't work like that. So expect a little bit more out of him this week against Cincinnati. And more importantly, expect a little bit more aggressiveness out of Derek Carr. All of the offensive line has to do is hold up and protect him better, make him feel more comfortable in the pocket.
Coming up next on the Silver and Black Show, we welcome in interim head coach Rich Bisaccia to discuss how the Raiders plan to bounce back against the Cincinnati Bengals. Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show. Earlier this week, I caught up with head coach Rich Bisaccia to look back at the Kansas City loss and what it will take for the Silver and Black to bounce back against the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, Coach, let's start with the Kansas City loss. It was an uncharacteristic loss. Kansas City made a bunch of big plays. You almost had a few big plays that could have changed the game. How did the team react this week in practice, and what do you expect from them?
Yeah, I think the reality of the last game we played is no one felt like we played well. We didn't do anything really to put ourselves in position, whether it was the first half, the second half, or really in any phase to do that. And we're just in position now. We have another opportunity coming up this week, so we've been excited about practice and preparing and getting ready to play the next game at home.
Let's talk about the loss of Alec Engel. What a player he is. How has that affected him and the team as a captain? We know he's going to be around here as a leader, and what you expect out of him going forward.
Yeah, again, so unfortunate for him and what he brings to us. He's our energy guy all the time. He's really bright. He plays multiple positions, not only in offense, but for us in the kicking game as well. So we're going to keep him around. He's going to stay in the meetings. He's going to sit right next to Sutton Smith and try to get him caught up on the things that we need him to do. They actually have a relationship from coming out of high school. They were both committed to the University of Northern Illinois at one time together. And then Alec moved on to Wisconsin. But it's been good to have him in our meetings and still be able to help get us prepared for what's coming next and keep his energy for us.
I know you answered a lot of questions this week on Darren Waller, how to get him going with Derek again. How do you throw him open? How do you get him open? Get that chemistry back with Derek Carr going forward.
Yeah, I'm hoping we've never really lost the chemistry. They've been just doing some other things to us to take Darren away from us to some degree. So I think positionally and what Greg's going to do to kind of get him in maybe some different spots. But some of the good parts about what they've done to Darren is it's opened some other people up. You know, Brian's had some good plays for us now, and Zay's had some plays, and certainly what Hunter's been able to do because a lot of the coverage has gone towards Darren's way. So hopefully we'll see what happens this week.
Let's stay with Hunter. What a year he's having, a career year, still a very young player. I want to talk about his leadership also, like we talked about with Alec, and now how you lean on him going forward, a 5-4 team, and he's been a guy who's really been delivering for you.
Yeah, and I think Hunter's more of a quiet type leader for us. He's a guy that you can have a conversation with in the locker room. He can sit down and talk to different players in our dining facility. And then, you know, his actions, when he can practice the way he practices out there and the chemistry he's starting to develop with Derek, I think his actions will show some leadership for us.
Coach, what do you think about up-tempo, no huddle to get the offense going? I know you're talking about this with the offensive coaching staff. Could that be a big difference going forward to play faster early in games?
You know, again, I think Greg's done a wonderful job with what we've done. You know, we do some tempo things as the game goes on, but it all depends on where are we in the game, where is the field position that we have the ball at, and what can we do to be advantageous to not only help us on offense, but how are we protected and helping our defense as well.
So aside from the fumble, Deshaun Jackson got open downfield, made a big catch. What's it been like now speeding him up with this playbook, this week of practice, needing him to play big going forward?
Yeah, again, I think a lot of credit goes to Deshaun and Edgar and Nick Holtz, what he's done. He comes in early, he stays late. He's done a great job of recreating the scripts out there in practice and walkthroughs, and we're getting him more and more and more involved with what we're trying to do. So that fumble was just part of the game. You know, it wasn't the end of the game, and we're expecting him to get a little bit better each week.
Let's get to the Bengals. Identical record, kind of the same place you're in the division, an opportunity to win the division. People are talking about wild card potentially. Since week 4, 8.5 yards when it comes to per play. They're explosive now with this offense with Burrow and Jamar Chase. What do you see when you look at the film?
Yeah, they're really doing a tremendous job of running the football. You know, their offensive line coach, Frank Pollock, and I were together for a long time in Dallas. We know exactly what he's trying to do. We know the tempo that he tries to set, the physicalness in which they play. They're really good at running back position. They're a good play action team now, certainly with Burrow as an emerging quarterback in our league. But it starts with the run for them. And we'll have our hands full. We'll have to do a good job of starting to run, hopefully, to eliminate some of the other things they do off the passing.
Yeah, it's interesting with Burrow. He comes out of LSU, one of the greatest teams ever assembled. Then he gets injured and comes back, and he's right back up to speed with these weapons at the receiver. What maturity level have you seen already from him? Because he's more of a pocket passer compared to Mahomes, who you just played.
Yeah, again, both certainly different systems that they're coming out of, but Burrow understands the system he's in. He was an extremely mature player coming out. People got a chance to visit with him at the combine. He looked like he's really worked himself into great physical condition coming off of the injury. So there'll be a handful on offense, but it starts with the run for them.
Let's wrap it up with Max and Yannick Ngakoue. Those are your cornerstone edge rushers. They got close to Mahomes a few times, but Patrick made plays outside the pocket. The importance of them, they're healthy, they're your leaders. Statistically, they're both having big years. Big game coming up here.
Again, example leaders, the power of example from those two guys, what it looks like in practice. They're in supreme physical condition. Two of the first guys in the building, two of the last guys to leave. They're constantly talking to not only defensive players, but offensive players, everyone in the building. So we're trying to feed off of their energy, not only in practice, but the way in which they play and compete with relentless effort in the game.
Last one, your leaders from Derek to Max, guys you just mentioned, Alex and Hunter, Darren Waller. It's the core of this team. You got great players and leaders here as you're trying to make a playoff run, get a big win at home.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Besides the plays that they make on the field, they're quality men, and that's been a big deal for us. The character of those guys, we hope exudes what a Raider is supposed to look like.
Good luck against the Bengals,
Thank
Coach.
you very much.
This segment of the Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Visit Vegas. Vegas is the greatest arena on earth. Plan your trip now at visitvegas.com. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by 1800, the best taste in tequila and official partner of the Raiders. And by Chevron with Techron gives you unbeatable cleaning and mileage. Chevron, together ahead.
They really limit the big plays. They're good at that. They really understand the scheme that they're playing in, and you can tell because they keep it so simple that they really don't have a lot to think about, and they can just focus on playing fast and playing with speed and physicality. So, we're going to have to take what they give us and take the big opportunities when they're there.
Welcome back to the Silver and Black Show, and he can play. Joe Burrow. He's already had a big injury in his career, missed some time, and then he comes back, Lincoln, like he hasn't missed a beat. This is one of the premier young quarterbacks in all of football.
He really has been fun to watch. And, when Cincinnati got him out of LSU, they knew exactly what they wanted, what they were going to get by making him the first pick in the draft. And I think he's lived up to that expectation so far.
And he's a leader. He talks about this team. He loves this area of the country. The franchise loves him. It seems like the perfect fit. And once he has a clean pocket, he doesn't make great plays outside the pocket. He can. But if Yannick Ngakoue and Max Crosby don't get to him and he sits there all day, he can make every throw.
First things first, like Coach Bisaccia said in the interview, they got to stop the run. The defense has been too porous against the run all season. And this is a running football team, the Cincinnati Bengals. They also back it up by having play action and taking shots down the field with the receivers. But you've got to stop the run and make them one-dimensional.
I think it's really important that Max has a monster game here and Yannick Ngakoue, as we talked about. But what about the linebackers, the pressures? Are you seeing, when you call the games with Brett Musburger, is there enough pressure coming from the interior so these guys on the outside can make a play and get home?
Well, you remember how we talked earlier in the show about offensive efficiency. Everybody has to work together. Same thing goes for the defense. The defensive backs press the receivers, don't give them a free release, so they allow the rush time to get there. The rush has got to show up and has got to get there, create pressure with that front four. That makes quarterbacks uneasy. They can't sit back there and wait for these receivers to come open. So it's a team effort on all sides.
All right, now we get to Jamar Chase, who's one of the best young receivers in all of football, compared to a young Tim Brown and a Randy Moss. What do you see when you look at the film? He is a burner. He's got great hands, and he always waits till the big portion of the game when he has to step up to make a big play.
Well, he has that chemistry with Joe Burrow. That's one of the things that stands out. And he's fearless, like most receivers are when they come in the league today. It's what you want. A quarterback's going to throw the ball up and said, I want you to go up there and get it. Jamar Chase is one of those guys that show that he will go after the football and will be aggressive.
Credit to Mike Mayock for getting Casey Hayward. We talked about this all year long. Where would the Raiders be without Casey Hayward? Lincoln, what have you seen when you look at the tape, especially even the Kansas City game? He hasn't given up a touchdown this year. The Raiders really need him to shut this young receiver down.
Well, that's a good point right there, JT. The fact is, when you don't hear his name being called out, you don't see him getting burned. You see that they're going other places, so everyone else has to step up. It'll be interesting to see how they're going to put Trayvon Mullen back into the lineup, as well as Casey Hayward, because they're going to need him going forward.
Now, they have a running game, as you talked about, and they like to work off of play action.
Yes.
And Joe Mixon can run. And if you don't tackle him at the line of scrimmage and he gets to the next level, he does some damage there. He goes sideline to sideline, north and south. He could pose a big threat to these Raider linebackers.
And this offensive line has done a good job at opening up holes for him. Joe Mixon has made the best of his efforts this season and is probably having one of his better seasons, especially their commitment to running the football and slowing things down for him.
You know, Lincoln, what's also interesting as we're seeing here with the tape, he's a really good receiver.
Yeah.
He wants the ball out of the backfield, that where they line him up, the wheel route could be really dangerous in this game if he gets behind a linebacker.
And that's why you've seen guys like Corey Littleton having to step up and cover backs out of the backfield. They can still do that with part of their defense, but as you mentioned, being a receiver just adds another weapon for Joe Burrow in this offense.
Lincoln, this is a monster matchup. When the season started and we would get to 10 games, I said 6-4 would be pretty good.
Right.
The Raiders got off to a 5-2 start. Now it's crunch time here. These teams are identical. They both lost 2 in a row. They're right equal where they are in each respected division. Winner move forward here, and the loser of this game is going to be in a tough spot. It feels like a playoff game at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday.
The AFC is all garbled up. There are a lot of teams that are sitting right in that central place with 5-4 records, and so you've got to create some separation for the Raiders in this division. Not only do they have to keep pace now with the Chargers and the Chiefs, they got to find a way to win these games they're supposed to win. I think you and I would both agree on paper the Raiders are a better team. They should have this game, but we've seen also this season how that's let us down.
And we'll talk about it next week, but a short week. So This is something that has to be important. We thank you for joining us. The Bengals are in town, and the Raiders need a big win. Thanks again for joining us on the Silver and Black Show.
We have to bounce back against a good team coming in here. We got to come to work tomorrow and get ready to go.
We just got to keep getting better and find ways to improve. We just got to bounce back and get ready for Cincinnati.
Baby, Vegas touchdown. Dives end zone. Yes, sir. Under pressure, goes down. Finley under pressure and going down. Max Crosby, he has been fierce today.